Assalamualaikum to everyone. I am your host Nur'Ain Hanisah Binti Arahman and you are currently watching Extra Economics. Without further ado, let us go straight to our topic for today. Today breaking news is regarding a spike increase in the price of goods starting on 1st June 2022. As we know,
some Malaysian economists have expected
that the price of basic goods will escalate 50% to 60% due to the implementation of the new minimum wage of 1,500 ringgit from 1,200 ringgit previously. There are a lot of reaction from people regarding this issue, especially by those who are from the low income group. Some of the comments are that even though the minimum wage is increased, the price of goods will also increase in double. This certainly will affect the living of low-income groups and become real burdensome. So now, in correlation of the news, can you guess what concept that is being implemented in it? The answer is the theory of individual behavior. Before I start to explain more in depth into the concept, I will briefly explain the content of this video. This video will talk about the concept of individual behavior, mainly about how it affects the budget lines, and how we as a Khalifa will react to this situation. What is meant by individual behavior? Individual behavior talks about how individuals or known as consumers react to the change of price given in some situation by observing the quantity of goods purchased at certain price levels. However, in this concept, we also include the constraint that stop the consumer from getting what they want, which is known as budget constraints. In budget constraint, it talks about the restriction that are set by prices and income, which in turn limits the quantity of goods that can be afforded by consumers. Budget constraint is also known as the budget line. This concept is related with the news earlier, which talks about income and price of goods and how consumers will react to the sudden changes. Next, what data can we extract from the news? First of all, it clearly states that the price of basic goods will increase up to 50% to 60%. This means that the price will become higher than the present price in the market. Next, it mentioned that the sudden increase is due to the increase of consumer incomes. Now, for a better understanding, let us illustrate it using the budget line graph. Budget line indicates the combination of commodities that a consumer can buy with a given income at a given set of prices. The slope at the budget line is called the market rate of substitution, where it refers to the ratio of units sacrificed of Y to acquire specific units of X as a given market price. There are two things that will make the budget line move, which are income changes and price changes. In income changes, the slope will shift to the right when the income increases, and it will shift to the left when the income decreases. This movement is called a parallel shift because the location of the new budget line is parallel to the initial one. Next, in price changes, the slope will become flatter when price decreases and steeper when price increases due to the rotation of the budget line at either at the x-axis or y-axis. When we want to draw a budget line, keep in mind that we need the quantity of two goods and the income assumption. It can be defined as M equal to XPX plus YPY, where M is income, X and Y are quantities of two goods, and PX and PY are prices of goods X and Y respectively. Let us make the initial line first before the price and the income increase. Let us assume that original real income M0 equals to 1,200 ringgit and the original price of good X, which in this example we take as rice, equals to 30 ringgit and good Y flour equals to 10 ringgit. So in this situation, when we want to find the intercept of both x's, it will be the income divided by good x or good y, and we will get
40
for good x and
120
for good y. Now, let us plot the points into the budget line. After you finish plotting the points, the budget line will look like this, where good x is on the horizontal axis and good y will be on the vertical axis. It does not matter on which axis that you want to put the goods at, because what matters is both axes must be the quantity of the goods. It is important for you to not get confused with the demand and supply function, where it is prices versus quantity. Because in the budget line,
It is quantity of good X versus quantity of good Y.
next, in the reference of the news, what will happen to the budget line when the income increase as well as the price? The new income is 1,500 and the prices increase up to 50% to 60%, which means good X will be
750 cent.
Y will be 12 ringgit 50 cents. Now, what can we interpret from this diagram? Based on the concept earlier, we know that the budget line will shift to the right or left depending on the increase or decrease of the income. However, in this situation, both prices and income increase respectively. When this happens, the budget line will remain unaffected because the real income, or known as purchasing power, will remain the same. When you check the intercept for a new budget line, that will again come out to be the same as in the original case. Thus, there will be no change in affordability of goods and hence the budget line will remain the same. Although the budget line is unaffected with these changes, bear in mind that the price increase are larger than the income increase. This means that the real income for the consumer is decreasing, resulting in consumers likely to reduce the quantity of goods they purchase. What can we do as a Khalifah? In this given situation of increased price hike in goods and services in parallel with increase to minimum wage to 1,500 ringgit in Malaysia now, my first response to my role as a Khalifah here will be to reassess all my financial liabilities, if any, and capabilities wherein I need to reevaluate my spendings and commitments, if any, so as I be able to manage my loan repayments like car loan, housing loan, and etc. Secondly, I may have to cut down on my present necessities like reducing my spendings habit like buying clothes monthly to quarterly and be more cautious in my spending of unnecessary things. Thirdly, I need to put aside a little more money for saving and insurance purposes in case of an emergency like hospitalization. Fourthly, I also need to give sadaqah for the ummah or my neighborhood to assist some other people of low income group. To conclude, the recent news on the announcement that the price of goods may increase to 50% to 60% commencing June 2022 has given a lot of pressures not only to the consumer at large, as the new minimum wage of 1,500 ringgit also affects the employers. For big companies who have a stable income, it may not be difficult for them to comply with the new law in increasing their employees' salaries. But there is always a possibility of laying off some employees to accommodate to the new laws herein. For small companies, they may have to let go of some workers due to inability to cope with these new laws. The increase in sale and supply of goods as warm economies recently will also serve to give pressure to people from all walks of life on their spending habits. The increase in the OPR, overnight policy rate by Bank Negara Malaysia in May 2022 to stand at 2%, which is 0.25% hike from its 1.75% for the past 2 years, has also increased the monthly installment payment to real estate and higher purchase loan. This is the ordinary cost of business and people's life will in turn be an oppressive situation. It makes it difficult for all, especially the private sectors and the low-income group of people. That's all from me. Thank you.